Sleep is a period of rest for the mind and body. Throughout the world, thousands or even millions of people undercut their sleep each night. Today we're going to go out in the public and ask, how much do you sleep a night?
Normally I get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep. I'm pretty good about getting that, but there are nights where I have gotten about 4-ish. I never get less than 4, but I always make sure I get 4 or more, but there have been nights where I have had about 4 hours of sleep.
I tend to get 7 hours or less on school nights, and then on the weekends I can get up to 8 or more hours.
I sleep about 8 to 10 hours a night.
I get about 8 hours of sleep, but it varies depending on schoolwork or how late I get home from soccer.
I get about 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night.
Sleep experts typically recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night for a healthy adult. You're probably asking yourself, why is sleep so essential for human survival? Today, I'm going to talk about how important sleep is and how it can truly affect your mental stability. As the amount of sleep Americans obtain every night decreases slowly, the amount of mental health cases have begun to rise in depression. Suicide has become the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. for all ages, and at least 1 out of 5 children between the age of 13 and 18 will suffer from mental illness. You're probably asking, could sleep be a leading factor in the rising mental health problems? The answer is yes. From research concluded, there has been a strong correlation between the retained hours of sleep and mental stability. Teenagers specifically have a hard time obtaining the recommended amount of sleep. From dealing with loads of homework and the temptation of binge-watching TV shows, teenagers barely reach the recommended amount. With that, 50% of lifetime mental cases begin at the age of 14. First, it's important to understand the reasons for what happens when we sleep and why it's so essential for our survival. But before we talk about that, we're going to go back and ask the public what happens and how they feel when they don't get the recommended amount of sleep.
When I don't get enough sleep, I probably get really cranky. My motivation goes down to do hard work and stuff. I guess I'm meaner to other people, and I have trouble processing a lot of information. So if I go to school without a good amount of sleep, I probably won't do as well.
But when I don't get enough sleep, I always feel like it catches up to me later in the day, and I'll feel really drowsy, fatigued, tired. I also feel like when I don't get enough sleep that I can't focus as well, and I get distracted a lot easier from doing different things such as schoolwork. And I also just feel like my mood is changed a little bit. I'm more irritable if I don't get enough sleep, or just grumpy.
You can tell when I don't get enough sleep because I feel like I'm not as focused, and I don't pick up on stuff enough, and I'm always just slow the whole day.
As you heard, sleep deprivation can cause many problems. This happens because many biological processes happen when you're sleeping. One process that occurs during sleep is energy conservation. As humans, we use an incredible amount of energy to keep ourselves healthy. All of our energy comes from the breakdown of foods we eat by our metabolism. Any energy that is not used immediately is stored in our liver or muscle to be saved for later. Through research, it has been found that humans use slightly less energy when sleeping. When you go to bed, the rate of your energy metabolism reduces by approximately 10%. This can be very influential when it comes to how you feel the next day. After sleep, you have conserved your energy during the night, allowing you to be focused and awake during the day instead of foggy and confused. Another process that happens during sleep is emotional reasoning. When sleeping, it helps your brain process your emotions. It can almost be called a therapy session every night. Often people dream when they are in the REM stage of sleep. Many people describe their dreams as very personal and emotional. For example, if you're overwhelmed with your daily stress, then you may have a more stressful dream. When you're experiencing these strong emotions, an area of your brain called the limbic system starts to take over. One structure in particular of the limbic system, known as the amygdala, is very much involved in emotional reasoning that occurs in a reaction to the stimuli. Research shows that sleep deprivation increases activity in the amygdala, This means that when someone's sleep deprived, the amygdala often goes into overdrive and may cause us to react more intensely to situations, meaning making us irritable. Lastly, an important process that occurs during your time of rest is hormone release. Hormones are special chemical messengers which control most major bodily functions. Hormones work with circulating the body in efforts to target certain organs and regulate how they function. Hormone release is highly regulated by your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is referred to as a body clock. It tells your body when to sleep, rise, and eat. This 24-hour cycle can have interesting controls when our hormones are released. Many hormones are only released during sleep and are testified to a specific sleep stage. When sleep is lost, it can have a hugely negative effect on our hormone balance. For instance, scientists discovered that sleep deprivation reduces leptin, the hormone that tells your body to feel full once you've eaten enough. Without these essential biological functions, many parts of your normal day-to-day functions would be missing. After analyzing the biological process, it's important to understand how these processes can affect your mental state. We're going to go back to the public and we're going to ask how their mental health has been for the last couple years.
Let's get over it, mental health for the past few years, not bad. I mean, it's been pretty normal. I mean, I haven't been depressed or anything. So, yeah.
Over the past several years, my mental health hasn't really been a problem for me, but I will say this past year has definitely been like the hardest for me just because of like everything going on and like definitely stress levels a little higher than normal.
When sleeping, hormone release, emotional well-being, and energy conservation are very important to our everyday lives. All of these processes are commonly problems that many people have when they're struggling with mental illness. For example, levels of certain hormones such as produced in the thyroid gland can be factors in depression. The hormones released during sleep can have several jobs. Sleep is a time when several of the body's hormones are released into the bloodstream. Depression occurs when levels of hormones are imbalanced, and with not sleeping, that can easily happen. Connecting to that, many sleeping disorders such as insomnia have several reported cases of mental problems. Insomnia is a major disorder where people hold the ability to get an amount of sleep needed to function efficiently during the daytime. Approximately 50% of insomnia cases are related to depression, anxiety, or psychological stress. Often the qualities of a person's insomnia and their other symptoms can be helpful in determining the role of mental illness in a person's inability to sleep. It can be concluded that biological processes that happen in sleep are essential to keeping mentally stable, and when you begin to undercut your hours of sleep, you can easily be at risk for obtaining a mental disability. I have found that many sleeping disorders have reported cases of mental illness, and most biological processes that happen in sleep are commonly problems which make people symptomatic in a mental illness. The research that I have presented notifies people to why sleep is more important than we think. From this research, it is obvious to see the benefits of sleep and why we should value it more in our lifetime. The one theme this research has triggered is that there are a lot more profound effects of not getting enough rest for the body. Maybe we should all reevaluate our sleep patterns to have a healthier lifestyle.